My name is Nellie Wilson, 65 years young, and I just bought my dream cottage by Crystal Lake. After 40 years teaching third graders, I finally retired and used my savings for this little slice of heaven. It has a dock, a garden patch, and blessed quiet. I was unpacking my books when my daughter-in-law Amanda called. "We'll be there in 1 hour with 22 from my family. Prepare rooms, cook for all, we're staying 2 weeks." I smiled. If you're watching this right now, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like this video if you've ever had family members who thought your space was their space too. Now let me tell you what happened next. I spent my entire adult life putting others first. As an elementary school teacher in Maplewood, Minnesota, I dedicated 4 decades to shaping young minds. My classroom was always the one with extra decorations, homemade learning aids, and cookies on Fridays. My students and their parents loved me because I gave everything to my job. My personal life followed the same pattern. I married Tom right after college. He was a kind, hardworking accountant who made me laugh until tears ran down my cheeks. We built a modest but happy life together, scrimping and saving for retirement. Our only son Patrick came along when we were both 30. He was the light of our lives, a thoughtful boy who grew into a responsible young man. Everything changed 3 years ago when Tom passed away suddenly from a heart attack. The loss left me adrift. For 40 years we had planned our golden years together. We had dreams of traveling, visiting national parks in a small RV, and eventually settling somewhere peaceful. When he died, those dreams died too. I spent a year barely functioning, going through the motions at school until retirement became my only goal. Patrick tried to be supportive after his father died, but he had his own life by then. He had married Amanda 5 years earlier. She was beautiful, charming, and came from a large, close-knit family, everything my small, quiet family wasn't. Patrick was swept into her world, absorbed by her large, extended family, with their loud gatherings and constant presence. Our weekly dinners became monthly phone calls. I understood he was building his own life, but I missed him terribly. Amanda had always been polite to me, complimenting my cooking and asking about my students, but there was something beneath the surface that made me uneasy. She had a way of making decisions for Patrick, speaking over him, in conversations, rearranging plans without consultation. Tom had noticed it too, whispering to me once, "That girl runs a tight ship, doesn't she?" We both worried but said nothing. Patrick seemed happy, and that was what mattered. After retirement, I decided to use our savings to buy a small cottage. It took months of searching before I found a charming 3-bedroom cabin on Crystal Lake, 2 hours from the city. It wasn't fancy weathered cedar shingles, a stone fireplace, windows that stuck in humid weather. But it had a deck overlooking the water, a small garden plot, and most importantly, peace and quiet. I could imagine myself sitting on the deck with morning coffee, watching loons dive beneath the surface. The price stretched my budget to its limits, but I knew Tom would have approved. "You deserve your piece of paradise, Nellie," he would have said. I signed the papers on a Tuesday, packed my essentials by Thursday, and moved in on Friday, feeling like I was finally starting my new chapter. That first week was pure bliss. I established simple routines: coffee at sunrise on the dock, morning walks along the shoreline, afternoons reading or gardening, evenings watching the sunset with a glass of wine. I met a few neighbors, but mostly kept to myself. For the first time in decades, I answered to no one. No bell schedule, no parent meetings, no compromise on dinner choices. I planned to invite Patrick and Amanda for a weekend eventually, once I was properly settled. I even designated the smallest bedroom as a potential future grandchild's room, though Patrick and Amanda seemed in no rush on that front. The second bedroom would be for guests, while the master bedroom with its lake view was gloriously mine alone. I was unpacking boxes of books on my 7th day when Amanda called. The sound of her ringtone made me smile. At first, perhaps Patrick had mentioned visiting, but her breathless announcement froze me mid-motion, a copy of Jane Eyre suspended in air. "Nellie, we're so excited to see your new place. We've got the whole family coming. Mom, Dad, my sisters, their husbands, all the kids. We'll be there in 1 hour. We need you to prepare all the rooms and maybe make a grocery run. We're planning to stay 2 weeks. Patrick can't wait." I couldn't form words. 22 people. For 2 weeks in my 3-bedroom cottage. And where was Patrick? Why wasn't he calling himself Amanda? I started. "No time to chat now. We're packing the cars. See you soon." The line went dead. I stood in my half-unpacked living room, surrounded by boxes, stunned into silence. My peaceful retirement had just collided with a hurricane named Amanda, and I had exactly 1 hour to prepare. I've never moved so quickly in my life. I grabbed my purse and car keys, racing to the local market to buy everything I could think of: bread, milk, eggs, pasta, ground beef, chicken, vegetables, snacks, sodas. My cart overflowed as I mentally calculated how many meals 22 people would consume in 2 weeks. The total at checkout made me wince. Back at the cottage, I scrambled to make beds with what linens I had, clearing floor spaces where sleeping bags could go, emptying closets to make room for their belongings. My carefully arranged bookshelf was pushed aside to make space for a blow-up mattress. My quilting supplies were stuffed back into boxes and shoved under my bed. Exactly 68 minutes after Amanda's call, I heard cars on the gravel driveway. Not one car or two, but 5 vehicles packed with people and luggage. I stepped onto the porch, trying to compose my face into something welcoming. Amanda emerged first from a shiny SUV, her long blonde hair perfect despite the drive. She ran up to hug me. "Nellie, this place is adorable, so rustic and quaint." Behind her came a stream of people, her parents Martin and Gloria, her 3 sisters with their husbands, and what seemed like a dozen children of various ages. Patrick was last looking apologetic as he carried 3 suitcases from the trunk. "Mom," he said, giving me a one-armed hug. "Surprise." Amanda was already directing traffic. "Kids in the bunk room, parents in the guest room, Mom and Dad can take the master bedroom." "Actually," I interrupted, finding my voice at last, "that's my bedroom." Amanda laughed lightly. "But it has the king bed and Mom and Dad need the space. You wouldn't mind taking the couch, would you? Just for 2 weeks." Before I could answer, her family was streaming past me into my cottage, exclaiming over the view, dropping bags in hallways, children running to explore every room. One boy, about 9, picked up a delicate glass bird that had been Tom's gift on our 20th anniversary. "Please don't touch that," I said quickly. The boy's mother, Amanda's sister Tiffany, I would later learn, smiled indulgently. "Jackson is just curious. Children need to explore." Within 30 minutes, my peaceful cottage had transformed. The refrigerator door opened and closed constantly. Someone had turned on a basketball game at full volume. A teenage girl had claimed my reading chair and was painting her nails on my side table. 2 young children were jumping on what had been designated as their parents' bed, my bed. Dinner was chaos. I hadn't prepared enough food for 22 appetites. Amanda's father, Martin, declared he only ate grass-fed beef. Her sister Stephanie was vegetarian. 3 children refused anything green. The youngest had a peanut allergy I hadn't known about. "I should have mentioned everyone's dietary needs," Amanda said, as if this were a simple oversight. I found myself eating a piece of toast in the kitchen while everyone else crowded around my small dining table and the card tables they'd brought and set up in the living room. After dinner, Amanda's mother, Gloria, took over kitchen cleanup, rearranging my cabinets as she went. "You don't mind, do you? Your system doesn't make sense for cooking for this many people." By 9 o'clock, every surface of my cottage was covered with someone's belongings. The bathroom schedule for morning showers was posted on my refrigerator. Someone had moved my reading lamp to make room for a portable crib. My bedroom, now occupied by Gloria and Martin, had its door firmly closed, my own pajamas and toiletries hastily grabbed in a humiliating moment of being allowed to collect what you'll need, Nellie. I retreated to the dock as darkness fell, sitting on the edge with my feet dangling above the water. The cottage behind me blazed with light and noise. Someone was playing music now. From the dock, I could see my neighbor Linda's place, its warm yellow windows a reminder of the peaceful retirement I'd imagined just that morning. As I sat there, a strange mixture of anger and shame washed over me. Why had I allowed this invasion? Why couldn't I speak up for myself? I heard footsteps on the dock and turned to see Patrick approaching 2 mugs in his hands. "Thought you might want some tea," he said, sitting beside me. "Thank you." I took the mug, wrapping my hands around its warmth. We sat in silence for a moment before he spoke. "I'm sorry about this, Mom." Amanda sprung it on me too. Her sister Stephanie was visiting, then her parents decided to come, and somehow it snowballed. "You could have called me first," I said quietly. Patrick looked down. "I know, I should have. Amanda just gets these ideas and everyone goes along with it, including me, I guess." 2 weeks is a long time, Patrick." "I know. I'll talk to her about shortening it." But his tone lacked conviction. From the house, Amanda's voice called for Patrick. He squeezed my shoulder before leaving me alone with my cooling tea and the gentle lapping of lake water, wondering how I'd lost control of my own life in the space of a few hours. By day 3, I felt like a ghost in my own cottage. Amanda's family had established routines that excluded me entirely. Gloria had taken over my kitchen, declaring my cookware inadequate and producing an instant pot and air fryer from their luggage. Martin had claimed my favorite chair by the window, where he spent hours loudly discussing business deals on his phone. The children had discovered my small garden, using it as a shortcut to the lake, despite my asking them to use the path. My carefully planted tomato seedlings were trampled within days. I tried to establish some boundaries. "Please ask before using my sewing supplies," I said when I found Tiffany's daughter cutting up one of my fabric pieces for a doll blanket. "Don't be selfish," Tiffany replied with a laugh. "Sharing is caring." Every suggestion I made was dismissed. When I mentioned that the hot water heater couldn't support so many showers, Amanda's sister Jennifer said, "Maybe you should upgrade it. This place needs a lot of modernization." Patrick spent most of his time with Amanda's brothers-in-law fishing or watching sports. When I managed a private moment with him, Amanda would appear needing him for something urgent. On the 4th day, I found Amanda and her sisters in my living room laptops open, discussing renovation ideas. "This wall could come down to open up the space," Amanda was saying, pointing to the wall that separated my small study area from the living room. "Excuse me," I interrupted, "but I'm not planning any renovations." Amanda looked up with a bright smile. "We're just brainstorming. This place has so much potential. Patrick and I were thinking we could contribute to some upgrades as a thank you for letting us all stay." "I don't want upgrades," I said firmly. "I like my cottage the way it is." Amanda's smile tightened. "Well, if you're going to host family gatherings, you'll need to make some changes." "I wasn't planning to host family gatherings," I said, feeling a surge of courage. "This is my personal retirement home." The 3 sisters exchanged glances. After they dispersed, I overheard Amanda on the phone in the kitchen. "She's being difficult, so stuck in her ways, doesn't understand family. We'll work on her." That evening, I discovered one of my favorite photos of Tom was missing from the bookshelf. I found it later, face down in a drawer. When I asked, Gloria said, "Oh, I moved it to make room for our family photos. I thought it might be painful for you to see your late husband all the time anyway." I carefully replaced Tom's photo and went to bed that night, a pull-out sofa, in what had been designated my own tiny corner of the living room, fighting back tears of frustration. On day 5, Amanda's parents made an announcement over breakfast. "We've been thinking," Martin said expansively, "about buying a place nearby. There's a cottage for sale just 3 lots down. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be neighbors? We could spend every summer together as a family." The thought of this invasion becoming a permanent seasonal fixture made my stomach clench. Patrick, noticing my expression, finally spoke up. "Dad, Mom just bought this place. Maybe we should give her some time to settle in before making big plans." It was the first time he'd contradicted any of Amanda's family's assumptions. Amanda shot him a look of surprise and displeasure. Later that day, I found a moment to thank him. "It means a lot that you said that, Patrick." He looked uncomfortable. "Well, this is your place, Mom. I know how long you and Dad saved for it." It was a small victory, but it gave me hope that my son hadn't completely forgotten whose home this was. That hope was short-lived. On day 6, I returned from a grocery run to find Amanda's teenage nieces trying on my clothes and jewelry. When I objected, they rolled their eyes. Aunt Amanda said it was fine. And when I tried to reclaim my reading corner that evening, Jennifer's husband Kyle informed me they were using that space for their children's playpen. You can read anywhere, right? I was becoming invisible in my own home, my boundaries trampled as thoroughly as my garden. Each night I retreated to the dock, my only sanctuary, wondering how much more I could take. On the morning of day 7, I woke to the sound of Amanda on the phone, her voice excited and loud despite the early hour. Yes, all of you. The cottage is right on the lake, perfect for a party. Nellie won't mind at all. She loves company. By the time I emerged from my corner of the living room, plans were well underway for a large gathering that weekend. Not just Amanda's immediate family, but apparently friends of theirs who lived within driving distance, plus neighbors I hadn't even met yet. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. Amanda beamed at me. "We're hosting a little get-together on Saturday. Just a few friends and the neighbors. It'll be a proper housewarming for you." "I didn't agree to this," I said. "Oh, don't worry about a thing," Gloria interjected from the kitchen where she was making a shopping list. "We'll handle everything. Your kitchen needs proper use anyway." Throughout the day, preparations accelerated. Martin and the other men moved my furniture to create more open space. Gloria commandeered my kitchen, entirely filling my refrigerator with party food and dismissing my weekly meal plan as not nearly enough for a proper gathering. I tried again with Patrick, catching him alone as he returned from fishing. "Patrick, I'm not comfortable with this party. I don't even know these people." He looked torn. "Mom, they've already invited everyone. It would be awkward to cancel now." "It's my home," I said, my voice breaking slightly. Patrick put his hand on my shoulder. "Just this once, it means a lot to Amanda to show off the lake house to her friends." "It's not the lake house," I said. "It's my home, my retirement cottage that I saved for my entire working life." But my objections fell on deaf ears. By afternoon, my garden had been further trampled to make room for lawn games. My bookshelf was emptied to make space for a drink station. Amanda's sisters were on my dock setting up decorative lights without having asked permission. The final straw came when I discovered one of the children had found Tom's fishing tackle box, the one possession of his I'd brought to the cottage because he'd always dreamed of fishing here. The box was open lures scattered across the floor, some broken. I gathered the pieces with shaking hands and retreated to the boathouse, the only place no one had invaded yet. Sitting on an overturned canoe, I clutched Tom's tackle box and finally allowed myself to cry. I don't know how long I sat there before I heard a gentle knock. My neighbor Linda stood in the doorway, concern on her face. "Nellie, I saw you come in here. Are you all right?" I wiped my eyes, embarrassed. "I'm fine, just overwhelmed." Linda sat beside me on an old wooden crate. "I've been watching the circus next door. Quite the crowd you've got." "Not by choice," I admitted, then found myself telling her everything: the surprise invasion, the boundary violations, the upcoming party. Linda listened without interruption. When I finished, she nodded thoughtfully. "My daughter-in-law tried something similar last summer. Not quite 22 people, but the same entitlement." "What did you do?" I asked. "I let it happen the first time, just like you. Then I realized if I didn't set boundaries, I'd lose my home and my peace. So I had a very direct conversation about my expectations for visits. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary." "I'm not good at confrontation," I confessed. "Neither was I," Linda said. "But this is your home, Nellie, your retirement, your peace." Our conversation was interrupted by Amanda calling my name from the house. I sighed and stood up. "The Queen's summons," I said wryly. Linda squeezed my arm. "Remember your house, your rules." I returned to the cottage to find chaos. Apparently, Amanda had decided to have a pre-party that very evening, inviting several neighbors over without warning. My small cottage was now filled with strangers, holding wine glasses and paper plates, exclaiming over the charming and quaint space. Amanda introduced me as if I were an afterthought. "This is Patrick's mom, Nellie. She just moved in, so everything's still a work in progress." As the evening wore on, disaster struck. With so many people using the bathroom facilities, the septic system backed up. Water began seeping into the downstairs bathroom, creating a foul-smelling mess. Amanda approached me face tight with irritation. "Your plumbing is a disaster. Why didn't you warn us it couldn't handle this many people?" "I tried to tell you the cottage isn't meant for large gatherings," I said. "Well, this is embarrassing," she snapped. "How are we supposed to have the real party on Saturday now?" As guests departed and emergency calls were made to plumbers, Amanda cornered me in the kitchen. "This cottage was a poor investment, Nellie. It's too small, too outdated, and clearly has structural issues." Something in me snapped. It was perfect until 22 extra people showed up unannounced. Amanda's eyes narrowed. "We're family. Family should always be welcome. Family should also respect boundaries, I countered. Boundaries, Amanda laughed. Patrick and I assumed this would be a family cottage, somewhere we could all gather in the summers, make memories with the kids when we have them. You're being selfish thinking it's just for you. There it was, the assumption that my retirement home, my dream, my investment was actually communal property, as if my needs and wishes were secondary to everyone else's. I looked at Amanda, really looked at her, and saw for the first time the entitlement that had always been there, hidden beneath charm and family togetherness. I realized in that moment that if I didn't stand up for myself now, I never would. My cottage and my retirement would be forever hijacked. That night, I couldn't sleep. The pull-out sofa dug into my back, and the events of the day swirled in my mind. Amanda's words kept echoing. Patrick and I assumed this would be a family cottage. Had I ever given them reason to think that? Had Patrick assumed that too? Was I being selfish? I thought back over my life, 40 years of teaching other people's children, putting their needs first. My marriage to Tom, where we made decisions together, compromising and considering each other. My relationship with Patrick, giving him roots and wings, supporting his choices even when they took him away from me. Had I ever been selfish? Had I ever put myself first? I remembered Tom's words from years ago during a parent-teacher conference where I'd been criticized unfairly. "Nellie," he'd said afterward, "you need to stand up for yourself more. Your kindness is your strength, but people will take advantage if you let them." He had been right then, and he would be right now. Being kind didn't mean being a doormat. Setting boundaries wasn't selfish, it was necessary. The next morning I rose early and walked down to the dock. The lake was still morning mist rising from its surface. This was why I had bought the cottage, for moments like this. Peace, tranquility, a space that was mine. Linda was on her dock, 2 coffee mug in hand. She waved and I joined her. "Big day yesterday," she commented. "And worse to come if I don't do something," I replied. "They're planning an even bigger party for Saturday." "What are you going to do?" I took a deep breath. "I'm going to stand up for myself." Linda smiled. "Good for you. Want me to be backup? I can be very intimidating for a 67-year-old retired librarian." I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in days. "I might take you up on that." Back at the cottage, I found everyone still asleep, the aftermath of last night's impromptu gathering evident in empty glasses and plates left everywhere. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table writing down what I wanted to say. Not in anger, but with clarity and firmness. By the time people began to stir, I had rehearsed my speech several times. I waited until everyone had coffee, then cleared my throat. "I'd like to have a family meeting," I announced. "In the living room, please." There were confused looks, but gradually everyone assembled. Amanda sat beside Patrick on the sofa, her expression guarded. "First," I began, "I want to thank you all for your interest in my new home. It means a lot that you wanted to see where I'll be living." I paused, making eye contact with each person. However, there seemed to be some misunderstandings that I need to clarify. This cottage is my retirement home, purchased with my savings from 40 years of teaching and with the life insurance Tom left when he died. It's not a family vacation home or a communal property. Amanda started to speak, but I held up my hand. "Please let me finish. I'm happy to have visitors, but on my terms. 22 people for 2 weeks without notice is not acceptable. Nor is rearranging my home planning parties without my consent or treating my personal belongings with disrespect." I saw Gloria and Martin exchange glances. Patrick was staring at his hands. "So here's what's going to happen." I continued, my voice steady. "The visit will end this Sunday, 3 days from now. That's 10 days total, which is quite generous considering the lack of notice. Future visits will require advance planning, appropriate numbers for the space, and my explicit consent." "You can't just kick us out," Amanda protested. "We've made plans." "Yes, I can," I said simply. "It's my home." "Patrick," Amanda appealed to my son, "tell your mother she's being ridiculous." All eyes turned to Patrick. This was his moment of choice, his wife or his mother. I held my breath. Patrick looked up, meeting my eyes first, then Amanda's. "Mom's right," he said quietly. "We overstepped. Big time. This is her home, and we need to respect that." Amanda's face flushed with anger. I can't believe you're taking her side. It's not about sides, Patrick replied. It's about respect. We wouldn't want someone doing this to our place. Amanda stormed out, followed by her sisters. The children looked confused. Martin cleared his throat. Nellie, he said, while we may have been presumptuous, there's no need for dramatics. I'm sure we can work something out. This isn't a negotiation, Martin, I said firmly. You're welcome to visit again in the future with proper planning and reasonable numbers, but for now, the decision is made. That evening, I reclaimed my bedroom. It was awkward, yes, but necessary. Gloria and Martin moved to the guest room, displacing Amanda's sister and her husband to the living room. The atmosphere was tense, but I stood my ground. Patrick found me on the dock later. I'm sorry, Mom, he said, sitting beside me. I should have stopped this from the beginning. Why didn't you? I asked gently. He sighed. It's easier to go along with Amanda and her family. They're like a force of nature, all noise and movement and plans. Sometimes I feel like I'll disappear if I don't join in. I understand that feeling, I said. But you don't have to disappear to be part of a family. The right people will make room for all of you. Like you and Dad did, he said softly. We tried. I agreed. We weren't perfect, but we tried. I miss him, Patrick said. He would have handled this better than I did. He would have been proud of you today, I told him. It takes courage to speak truth, even when delayed. The next 2 days were strained but manageable. Amanda remained cold, speaking to me only when necessary. Her family began packing, making plans for their departure. The big party was canceled, much to my relief. On their last morning, as cars were being loaded, Amanda approached me on the porch. This isn't over, she said quietly. Patrick wants to be close to my family. You've just made yourself the bad guy. I looked at this young woman who had so much power and so little wisdom. Amanda, I said gently, one day you'll understand that respect is the foundation of any healthy relationship, including family. I respect your place in Patrick's life. I'm asking you to respect mine. She didn't respond, just turned and walked to the car where Patrick waited. He gave me a long hug before leaving. I'll call you next week, he promised. Just me next time. As the caravan of vehicles pulled away, I stood on my porch feeling a complex mixture of emotions, relief, sadness, pride, uncertainty. But most of all, I felt like myself again. Nellie Wilson, standing in her own truth in her own home. The silence after they left was stunning. I walked through my cottage, surveying the damaged, stained carpets, scratched furniture, disarranged belongings. But these were just things, fixable things. What mattered was that I had reclaimed my space and my voice. I spent the first day cleaning returning items to their proper places, opening windows to let in fresh air, and let out the lingering sense of too many people. I found small treasures that had been hidden away. Tom's reading glasses. I'd kept a shell collection from our beach trips, the hand-drawn cards my students had given me at retirement. The second day, I began rearranging. Not just returning to how things were before, but creating something new. I moved my reading chair to better catch the morning light. I hung art that had still been in boxes. I claimed spaces that had been earmarked for others and made them definitively mine. Linda came by with a housewarming gift, a wind chime for the porch. "Congratulations on your second move-in," she joked. We sat on the dock with glasses of lemonade, becoming the friends I had hoped to find in my new community. She told me about her own journey to setting boundaries with her children, the resistance she'd met, and how ultimately those boundaries had improved their relationships. "The ones who really love you," she said, "will adapt. The ones who only love what you can give them will fall away." I took her words to heart as I created a guest calendar for my cottage. Patrick could visit one weekend each month if he wanted. His in-laws would be welcome for 3 days twice a year with advance notice. Friends could come for afternoon visits or occasional overnights. The rest of the time was mine. Patrick called the following week as promised. Our conversation was more open than it had been in years. He asked questions about my plans for the cottage, really listening to my answers. He mentioned that he and Amanda were seeing a marriage counselor, something he'd suggested after returning home. "The way her family operates isn't healthy," he admitted. "I've been going along with it because it seemed easier than fighting. But watching you stand up for yourself made me realize I need to do the same sometimes." It was a small step, but an important one. Patrick visited alone the following month, a weekend of fishing and card games and conversations that stretched late into the evening. He helped me install bookshelves and fix the dock railing. As he was leaving, he hugged me tightly. "I'm sorry I forgot how strong you are, Mom," he whispered. "Dad always said you were the backbone of our family." He was right. Over the summer, I settled into a rhythm at the cottage. I made friends with other neighbors, joined a book club in the nearby town, started volunteer work at the local library. I planted a new garden, this one protected by a small decorative fence. Amanda's parents did buy a cottage that fall, but thankfully it was on the opposite side of the lake. We exchanged polite waves when our boats passed. Amanda herself remained distant, but I noticed small changes when they visited at Thanksgiving. She asked before using kitchen items, kept her family's belongings contained to their room, and even thanked me for hosting. These changes weren't magic or sudden transformations. They were the result of consistent boundaries, clearly communicated expectations, and a willingness on my part to endure temporary discomfort for long-term respect. By the following summer, I was hosting small dinner parties on my deck for my new lake friends. Linda and I had become close, taking morning kayak trips and sharing gardening tips. 2 other widows from around the lake joined our informal coffee group. We called ourselves the Lake Ladies and became each other's support system and social circle. One evening, as we sat on my deck watching the sunset, Linda raised her wine glass in a toast. "To Nellie," she said, "who taught us that it's never too late to stand up for yourself." The others joined in, and I felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the evening sun. I had found my people, my place, and my voice. Later, alone on the dock, as dusk settled over the water, I thought about how standing up for myself had actually been an act of love for myself, yes, but also for Patrick and even for Amanda and her family. By refusing to be a doormat, I had shown them how to engage with me authentically, with mutual respect. Tom would have been proud. I could almost hear his laughter on the breeze, his voice telling me, "See, Nellie, I told you that backbone of yours would come in handy someday." The lake rippled gently against the dock pilings. A loon called in the distance. My cottage windows glowed warmly behind me, all mine on my terms. Finally, I was home. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who overstepped? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe to hear more stories about finding your voice later in life. Share this with someone who might need a reminder that it's never too late to stand up for yourself. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, peace begins with honoring your own needs first.